And then we're anchored into my school here, freaking me out. And have y'all ever noticed, like, have you ever stopped for a minute and just realized, man, like, how fast time goes by? Anybody here, like, you ever realize how fast time goes? You're just like, man, what? It's already this time of year again? I mean, your mind is just boggled by how fast time goes. Like, that's me. It blows my mind. Like, time flies by. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because see, seasons change fast. Like here, I'm in the middle of summer. You know, it's warm, and I'm mowing, doing my thing, and then the next thing I know, it's winter. And then it's summer again, you know, like, and it seems like the older you get, like anybody relate with me, the older you get, it seems like the faster time goes. Because when you're a little kid, you're like 10-year-old or something, it seems like time cannot go by. Like, it's just so slow and miserable. You want to be out of school, you want to be grown up, you want to drive, you want to do all these things that you can't do as a kid, right? You're just like, wow, man, like, I'm tired of how slow time goes. As a kid, and then you start to get older, and then maybe like high school, you start realizing, man, it's going a little quick, and they were right. My grandparents were right when they told me that. And then maybe like when you get to college, you're just like, wow, time is great. Like, and then by the time I can imagine that you're maybe 30, 40, it would seem like just a couple of months and a year would go by. Maybe I'm off, but that's how I would think. Can everybody hear me? Everybody good? All right. And see what, I know I'm a little all over the place, but what I'm going to talk, like, everything has a season. You know what I mean? Like the seasons captivate me, man. Like I get caught up in the seasons. Like I love the summer, like the trees and the flowers and how hot it is. Going to the lake or going to the swimming pool, just soaking in chlorine. Like I love that. You know, I love summer, and then fall comes and you can wear like a hoodie and just kind of maybe still wear flip flops, maybe some nice pants or something. And it's fall, you know, there's pumpkins and leaves falling and junk. It's fall, you know, and there's winter, man. And I mean, winter's kind of depressing for me. Like I'm not working a lot, and you know, it's cold. You go outside, you got to wear 20 layers of clothes. Like winter can be depressing. And then there's spring, you know, and everything comes alive. Like it's exciting, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to talk faster than you, but like, and one other thing about springtime is. And late springtime is gardening. Like it's kind of an old thing, but like have you ever thought of the concept of gardening? Yeah, I might be boring y'all, but it's cool. Like, has anybody here ever grown a garden? You ever planted something and it grew and you ate it? Anybody? I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's something worthwhile about putting a seed in the ground and it growing and eating it. You know what I mean? Like you just feel like a full-grown human, man. And I mean, I was just studying like how people garden, and it blows me because you sow a seed and you dig, you have to till the ground, right? You have to find that soil that'll actually bear something, and not just that rough, you know, worn out soil. Like you got to plow the jungle, you got to till it to where some fertile soil will be there. And then like you got to know what kind of seed, you got to know what kind of food that you want to come out of what you're doing. You know, you don't just go to the mystery box of seeds and spin and see, you know, am I going to get asparagus? Am I going to get like apples? Like, you know, you don't just hope for a seed or maybe some thorns. Like, you know what you're planting with the intent of having a harvest so you can eat, right? And then there's purpose involved in it, and there's patience because you sow it, like you do all the work. And then you've got to be, like, you got to be patient while that stuff happens. You know, you've got to water it. You've got to make sure the sun isn't killing it. You know, no crows are coming. You got to build some scarecrows. You know, you got to have some stuff to scare off the animals from getting in it. And there's a lot that goes into it, and you've got to be patient. And above that, even, you've got to know that when you plant something in the ground, it's going to grow, right? Like, I'm not going to have a very productive garden if I don't even think it's going to grow. Like, I'm not going to plant stuff right. I'm just going to have to do it. But if I know that if I put a seed in the ground, it's going to produce me some food in the summer, right? Yeah. If I know that and I have assurance and confidence that what I put in the ground is going to bear something, whatever I'm intending for it to, right? Yeah. Like if I have that assurance, I'm just like, man, there's going to be, I'm going to grow this, or I'm going to grow this, or I'm going to grow this. I'm about to lose my voice already talking. But what I might ask you, and I was thinking it's kind of interesting. what if you were a gardener, but things worked a little different? Like, what if you want to grow a pear tree, right? It's random, weird. You want to grow a pear tree. So I take a seed from a pear, like a dead seed, and I plant it. But what if the second it was covered in dirt, it grew? And not just grew a little bit, full-grown maturity into a pear tree, and 2 seconds later I'm eating a pear. You know, I think about it, it's kind of weird, but like, what if the instant I planted the seed, it grew? And it was just there. It was made like it was what it was after 2 seconds, like of it being in the ground, just pear, eat. You know, that sounds a little weird. But, you know, if that was the case, it'd be awesome. I'd be gardening all the time. I'd never go to Wendy's. I'd never go to Taco Bell. I'd be growing stuff right in the evening all the time. Well, what if it was like this? Like, what if, you know, I mean, the results were just instantaneous. Boom. Done. Finished. Well, what if when I went to the gym, like, I could go in the back and I could get my little blue mat and I could be fat. And I could go in there and do 20 reps of crunches and watch the fat fall off me and watch some chiselness come. You know what I mean? Like, what if I went to that gym, man, and instantly had the perfect body I wanted just by a couple of motions of going through what I was doing? Man, some of y'all need to hear this in a different way. Some of y'all that's been here for a little bit, y'all need to hear this in a different way than I'm preaching it. So dig in a little deeper beyond what my words are saying, if you're new, or if you've been here for a while. This is for you too. So what if it was instant? Like, because most people, when they work out, they just get tired. They're just like, man, I'm not seeing no results. I ain't seeing no kind of difference in my body. I quit. You know, I'm done. I'm finished. But I mean, if that was the case with working out, if it was instant, like, man, I would be in the gym a lot less time than I am right now and look a lot better. All right? Not possible. But it was an instant result kind of thing. And that sounds kind of weird. You're like, where are you going? But how many knows the basic biblical truth of you reap what you sow? Right? You reap what you sow. What you put in the ground is going to grow and come out of it. Right? It's going to sprout up out of the ground and be when there was nothing. Right? Until the ground falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. Right? But just in general, you reap what we sow is what we reap. We can't sow a pear tree and expect a pumpkin to come out of it. You know what I mean? You have to purpose what you're going to plant and purpose what you're going to sow and have an expected end for that seed. Except instead of planting a pumpkin seed and being like, well, why in the world is that not a pear tree? Oh, did you see that? I totally planted a pear tree. Man, I saw you plant a pumpkin seed. No, man, I planted a pear tree. You know, so you're arguing it just ridiculously. Like, grow up and see. You know what I mean? What if? What if? That sounds weird, but that's for somebody. We get what we. You know what I mean? What is sown is what grows. It's really simple, but what is sown is what grows, right? And I mean, if that's a good seed or if that's a bad seed. If a bad seed's planted, you're going to get a bad thorn bush spring up out of it, right? If a good seed's planted, you're going to get some delicious fruit that's going to behoove your life. It's going to make stuff better, right? It's going to taste good. It's going to give you strength, energy, love. So when we plant a thorn seed, a briar seed, and we expect some beautiful fruit to come out of it, but yet we shouldn't because we planted some thorns. We sowed in sin, but yet we expect to reap in righteousness and goodness and favor of the Lord, right? Like, man, we can't sow in sin and expect to reap in fruitfulness, amen? The Word says that the wages of sin are death, right? Like we know this. The wages of sin are death. That gets hammered so hard you don't even hear it no more. I hear wages of sin are death, and I think, yeah, it's in Romans. Wages of sin are death. I know that. I've heard that 15 times. I don't even think about it. Because we've become so disconnected with the fact that the wages of sin lead to death. Right? Yeah. And see, that might not happen instantaneously. A lot like planting seed, right? A lot like planting seed, man. You can't, like, we get so disconnected with the fact that Jesus said the wages of sin are death because it takes a little while for that to grow and cultivate into the end result that Jesus said it would lead to, right? You hear me? Like, And because Jesus is like, the way to sin and death, if you do this, you can't, you're going to die eventually, like it's going to be bad for you. We automatically get real religious about it, and maybe it's about our teachers, maybe our pastors, maybe somebody taught us all these rules of things that if you do, you will not go to heaven. Really, really flat. Maybe when you hear the word sin, and when you hear the word about that, you automatically just think, rules. Man, rules. I can't do this. I can't do that. Man, like God must not want me to have no fun. Like it's going to, like what? You think I'm going to be a Christian and have no fun like those cats over there? Yeah, you're crazy. Man, there's been such a crazy, such a poor representation of what it is to be a Christian. It is not a list of rules, of things that if you wear this, you do this. If you do that, you go to hell. Sorry, it is not. You can read that in your word, apparently. Man, read the full thing. Because, see, it's not that Jesus just doesn't want you to have any fun. It's not that He wants you to miss out from hanging out with certain people. It's not that He wants you to miss out from that party that you could have had a blast at, man. It's not that He wants you to miss out on messing around with your girlfriend because He just doesn't want to see you have that excitement you can have. And you hear me. Because, like, the thing about it is, it's not a list of rules, but it's love. Amen. Man, it's a list like things that if you don't do them, you will experience true love. And it's a lot like, I've said this before, it's a lot like the Lion King, man, where Papa Lion holds Simba over the kingdom. And it's so epic, man. Like he's just like, my son, all this is yours. And all the creatures and animals, brother, just like, holding the thing up over the whole kingdom. And he said, my son, all this is yours. Like if I could go with my Papa Bear Lion voice. My son, all this is yours. Like everything your eyes can see. I mean, everything you can see. It was in the side of your eye. Except that little area over there that's dark. Because if you go over there, there are things that wish to kill you. Not because you're just something, but because of me. Because those things hate me. And they know that if it kills you, it'll break my heart, little Simba.
Amen.
All right? That's true. All right, hear me. It's not a list of rules. It's not that Papa Lion, man, king of the jungle. It's not that the Lion of Judah don't want you to experience no fun. But it's He wants you to experience what He's created for you to the fullest and not die.
Amen.
And not get your legs cut off and bleed to death and have infection because wounds weren't healed. Man, it's not a list of rules. Get your religious junk out of the way. It's because He wants you to live abundantly. Man, it's not that He doesn't want you messing around doing everything but sex with your girlfriend because He wants you to keep you from that excitement, but He wants you to have a marriage to where you'll trust each other. Right. He wants you to have a marriage to where you won't worry about when you're not home. Well, we had sex before marriage. We did stuff before marriage. Like, well, why wouldn't she do that with somebody else? Because you can actually get jealous of yourself before the event of marriage. Amen. Is that weird? It's not that He wants to keep you from fun, but He wants you to really actually experience the life and love that He made for you. It's not a list of rules. Man, erase that junk from your bank of going to church or religiousness or whatever that came from for you. It is not a list of rules. I'll drive that into your brains if I have to. It's not. Man, read your word. It is for freedom's sake that we have been set free. Amen. Amen. I'm not telling you to go do whatever you want, but I'm telling you our motives for not doing things aren't because we're going to get browbeat by Jesus. Amen. No, but it's because we want to live in the fullness of why He created us, of the fullness of His love, because He loves you that much and that violently, to try to keep you from that junk, that sin, those things that try to kill you, because they have a grudge against God, right? The enemy's like a lion seeking whom he may devour. And look in the Lion King. That is a spiritual movie. You can get all kinds of revelation from the Lion King. Okay? I'm going to pass out. Are you guys still here?
Amen.
Come on, boy. Preach. So with the motives of all those things being laid out, like, it's not that He wants to just keep us from stuff. But He knows that if we plant in sin, we'll reap in sin. He knows that if we plant in death, we'll reap in death. But His heart is for us to reap in life, right? His life is for us to plant some worship in our life. to plant some reading my word in my life, to plant some real fellowship in my life where I'm talking about God, to plant some sermons in my earbuds. Yeah. Because in a couple months, that stuff's going to grow. In a couple of months, you'll find yourself in a field full of flowers. And you're just like, it was awesome. Because see, and I want to go back. What if when we sin? What if when we? What if when we sowed in sin? Even if we're not calling it sin, we're calling it just a little thing over here. You can't call sin. You can't call a pear tree a pumpkin seed. Okay? It is what it is. You want to be real with your own self tonight. You're not fooling me. Like I fool myself sometimes. Like we got to be real with ourselves. Okay? I was weird in high school. I kept a journal, right? Like I was weird. I don't know. I was like an adventure log. But like through high school, I was so miserable. Like early college, I was so miserable, so desperate. I'm gonna go on a rabbit trail. School. But I was miserable, right? How about full of yourself? And I would write every single night. And I was reading back. Last night I was looking back on my journal entries. And I was like, because I was all big on memories and stuff. Like I wanted to remember stuff because I realized stuff was going by quick. I realized I'd be gray-headed and crippled before too long, you know? I'm not trying to be blunt, but so I was like, man, I got to get some memories on paper so I can go back and read them. It was exciting back then. So I'm reading that last night, and I was just like, man, God, show me something. And I started reading, and to a point, at my lowest point in my life, I made the biggest mask to myself in this journal, like I was reading it. And nobody gonna. I was writing this journal back 4 years ago, 5 years ago, knowing that I was gonna read it again someday. So I was trying to write down the cool stuff I remember and none of the bad stuff. You know, like I was trying to fool myself. And the thing is, like, during the worst point of my life, like, I wrote all this stuff about climbing, went camping this weekend, went to Nebraska this weekend, North Carolina, Virginia, like, all over the place for like 2 months, went everywhere, me and Jeremy. And I was reading this, and there wasn't one thing written about how miserable I was. At the most miserable point in my life, it was a big mask, even to myself. So tonight, take your mask off of yourself that you're even trying to keep from your own self. Confront how you really feel about yourself. Man, let's be real tonight, because we'll never grow if we never face what we're dealing with, right? We cannot plant a pumpkin seed and expect it to turn out pear tree, okay? So let's be real with ourselves tonight. Y'all still with me all right?
Yeah.
All right, so what if when we sowed in sin, no matter whether we realize it is or not, but what if when we sowed in sin, then the second it touched the ground, a thorn bush sprang up, a huge one, just kind of ominous, and it was just there. That might sound a little weird, but like, what if when you had sex outside of marriage, instantly you had an STD the first time?